Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Elizabeth. It's good to have you. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make this personalized makeup bag, and it's for a bride. I've used Jennifer, my embroidery machine. If you would like to see how I do this, please stay tuned. Okay, so I have already hooped my cutaway stabilizer and I am floating my fabric, and I've pinned it in place. I always float my fabric. I never hoop it because it causes issues for me anyway. So we're going to do our trace. So we are nice and clear, just making sure I'm not hitting any of those pins. So we are good to go. So here it is, guys. This is going to be made now into a makeup bag for a bride. Okay, so here we are, we're at the table, so I'm going to take this off the hoop. By the way, guys, I only used that much stabilizer. This is cutaway stabilizer and I didn't want to waste it. It was a piece that I had from another project and I thought I'd try it out. So this is quite economical and it saves you saves your stabilizer, so something new. So I'm just going to unhoop this. I didn't think it would work. I was just going to try it out and it did, and I'm really pleased it did. So it just means if ever I have a small design like this, I can always use a smaller stabilizer rather than hooping a whole sheet for the actual hoop that I'm using. So I've pretty much saved quite a bit there. I could have maybe even gone thinner, who knows, I'll try that out. But here it is, and that's going to be made into a makeup bag. So I'm going to take you to the machine, the sewing machine that is. So guys, I named my machines. So Jennifer, my embroidery machine, my Janome embroidery machine, is the one that has done this, the embroidery. So well done, Jennifer. And now we are going to go to Khalees, who is going to do the sewing. So next up, Khalees. Voiceover time. So I've got here my main fabric, which I've got some fusible interfacing on the back ironed on, and you need 2 of each bits of fabric, your lining and your main fabric, and your zipper tape. And your zipper tape and your main fabric has to be pretty sides facing, so your zipper tape has to be facing down. Then you sandwich that with your lining fabric, making sure that you've lined it up with the raw edge, match it up really nicely. I will add the measurements of everything in the description box below. Once you've done that, and you can see here I'm just adding clips to make sure nothing moves, a nice little zip sandwich there, and then you take it to the machine, making sure that you've got your zipper foot for your machine attached, and I'm just going to stitch all the way down, making sure I back stitch at the end to keep that all securely in place. Once that's done, you need to open it up so your zipper is exposed, and you need to now do a top stitch, still using your zipper foot of your machine, and stitch all the way down so that your fabric doesn't get stuck in the zipper pull. Now I'm going to get the other side of my main fabric with the pretty side facing up, and I'm placing the previously sewn part on the top with that facing down, and my lining fabric on the top of that, making another zipper sandwich. I'm lining everything up at the top of the zipper tape to make sure everything is nice and straight, and I'm going to clip that into place using my clips so that nothing moves while I'm at the machine. So now I'm just going to stitch those two pieces together using my zipper foot on my machine, making sure I back stitch at the end so it's nice and secure, and then I'm going to open it up and do a top stitch. It's got about between a 2 to 3 mil allowance, just so that the fabric doesn't get stuck in the zipper teeth. So I've made sure that my zipper pull is in the middle, and now I'm going to cut off the excess of the zipper tape. I'm not using my good scissors because I don't want them ruined. The zipper tape is quite tough and it will ruin my good scissors, so I'm just using a different pair of scissors here, and I'm cutting both ends off to make them nice and square with the fabric. So here I have matched up the lining and the main bit of my fabric together, so pretty sides facing, and I've also matched up my zipper teeth so it's in the lining side of the bag, and I've now also marked about 1.5 inches on the corners of the lining and the main fabric. And I'm also going to leave a little gap in that lining fabric for turning. So I'm just cutting out those right angles out. This will allow the makeup bag to sit nicely and give it some depth. So that needs to be done on both the lining and the main fabric. I'm just adding pins there so that the lining fabric doesn't shift while I'm cutting it. Once that's all cut out, I need to now stitch along about 1 centimeter seam allowance, or 1/4 inch, making sure I take care when I stitch over the zipper tape. You need to go a little bit slower so you don't break your needle or ruin your machine. I'm not stitching over those right angles, I'm just stitching all the way around, avoiding those right angles, and obviously leaving that little gap in the lining for turning, like I said earlier. So I've stitched all around and left those right angle gaps, and I've also made sure that I've back stitched at the ends to keep the stitches in place, and I've left that gap again in the lining for turning. So now I am matching those right angles together, and I'm going to do that on all 4 corners of the bag, and I'm just going to secure that with clips so nothing moves while I'm at the machine. So I'm splitting the seam. It just makes it easier for sewing. So I'm matching up the right angles, and I'm actually splitting up the seam, as you can see here, just so it's nice and flat and easier for me to sew, and I'm securing that with a clip. And I'm going to now stitch about 1 centimeter, which is roughly 1/4 inch, all the way down and back stitching. So now I've turned it inside out, and I'm now pushing out those boxed corners. I'm putting my hand through the lining of the fabric, through the part that I have left unsewn, and I'm pushing out those corners so that I can have a nice sharp finish. So now I'm just going to sew that little gap that's in the lining, so I'm matching it up, and then I take it to the machine and just stitch that up, and the bag is finished. And it can be ironed because it's a little bit creased from all that turning, and that's it. That is how I make my makeup bags. So if you found that video useful or interesting, please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram under the handle Liz Art Design Studio. And as always guys, don't have a good day, have an amazing day. Bye bye.